Hello again everybody, and a very warm welcome back to the channel. If you're tuning in the very first time, a very warm welcome on board. Please do hit that subscribe button down below, and of course if you find today's video useful, then I'd love it if you give the video a like as well whilst you're here. Now, no doubt you've clicked on the video because you want to learn how to fly on VATSIM for some long haul routes, and you might even be considering doing an upcoming cross the pond or something like that. And in this short video I'm going to try and break it down into small pieces to help you learn how to plan your routes in order to execute your long haul flights on the network successfully. Now naturally I might miss out a couple of tips or tricks, and you might have some of your own if you're watching this, so share them in the comments below and let us know what you think. If you want to get your hands on this incredibly good Manchester Airport by Mako Simulations for Microsoft Flight Simulator, then just check the description down below and all the links will be down there for you. Okay, so first things first, head to britishavgeek.com/VATSIM. There on our website you will find a number of tutorial videos with radio telephony tips and tricks and some basics in relation to generic VATSIM stuff, but more importantly if you scroll down you will find a number of files, and one of those is the VATSIM Oceanic Basics PDF that I've created. So download that, then decide on your route. For the purposes of today I'm going to plan a route from Manchester Echo Golf Charlie Charlie to New York JFK, Kilo Juliet Foxtrot Kilo. Now as you can see from this snippet from SimBrief that's displayed at the moment, there is an alternate of Boston, KBOS, and aircraft type. We need to of course make sure we've selected whichever aircraft we're going to be using, and you've got your date and departure times set in there as well. You'd go through your SimBrief setup as you would ordinarily, but then in the route section you will notice beyond a number of waypoints you'll see something like NATA, NAT Track Alpha, or NAT B, NAT C, so on and so forth. And you might get letter changes depending on the actual route, whether you're going eastbound or westbound, so on and so forth. You might also get a string of coordinates like 54 north 030 west, 54 north 020 west, and that sort of thing. In our SimBrief route we've been given NAT Track Alpha, but in the map itself you can actually click onto some of these waypoints and you can see the route strings: 53 north 020 west, 53 north 040 west, 52 north 050 west for our oceanic waypoints as we make our way across the Atlantic Ocean for this particular routing. Within SimBrief, when you're planning your route, you want to expand the alternate airport section, and most of the time it will give you alternates required 1, and it will give you the one that we've got at the top of the screen, which was KBOS, Boston Logan International. But you can request a second one and you just automatically hit find, and it will tell us on this particular routing Philadelphia is the next best option, and it will provide the diversion routes for you. But more importantly, you want a takeoff alternate and an en route alternate, and that's because if you develop a problem after your departure, you can't continue the flight, but you can't make it back to Manchester for whatever reason, you need a next to best suitable alternate to return to. So inside alternate airports you can just hit find and it will provide you another alternate, and in this case it's telling us it's London Heathrow. And then we need some en route alternates as well. Something might happen over the Atlantic requiring us to divert, so we can just hit find and it's telling us an en route alternate is Boston. The next drop down is an ETOPS scenario, and usually it's set to target scenario auto, and you can just hit auto calculate, and what you'll then see on your map is a whole load of circles drawn over it. And if you can't see that, then just at the very top of the map itself inside SimBrief you can see a button that says ETOPS. Click that button and you'll basically see all of the diversions, alternate airports and things whilst you are oceanic displayed for you. You can also hit NATs and see the NAT tracks displayed too, and there's a couple of other features on the top bar, so do have a play with that. If you zoom in on the map you can see that we've got Shannon as an ETOPS entry airport. And then we've got some green dots now added onto our routes as well, and that is from our ETOPS scenario that we've generated. So if we click on the first one, nearest to the UK, it's an ETOPS entry point, Shannon, and that's 1 hour 26, it says there. And then there's an ETP one. If we click that button, it will say it's an equal time point. So diversion time is 2 hours 4, and it is pretty much an equal time between Echo Golf Papa Kilo and Reykjavik in Iceland, Bravo India Kilo Foxtrot. ETP2 is an equal time point between Reykjavik and Charlie Yankee Yankee Tango with a diversionary time of 2 hours 20. And Charlie Yankee Yankee Tango being St. John's, of course, over on the US side of the Atlantic, or US-Canada side of the Atlantic. And you can see a number of different range rings as well. You can see in the pies where they overlap with each other. So it could give you, in some instances, 2 or 3 diversionary options, and you could work out whichever is most suitable. But we won't go into it too much. This is just us touching upon it in a really basic way, just so you can get a tiny bit more immersion from it. In flight simulation, most of the time, 99.9% of the time, we're not going to trigger with diversions or anything like that, and most certainly during an event we won't do so, unless the controller tells us that they just can't cope with the amount of traffic during a massive event, and then they can enforce diversions at that point. So if you've got an aircraft like we do, the Salty Simulations 747, or in this case the Heavy Division 787-10, in the flight deck, once you've aligned the IRS, you can go ahead, load your flight plan in from SimBrief, and in it goes, at the moment, loading it all in on our behalf. And it's imported the route successfully. So you go ahead and just set the aircraft up as you would ordinarily. Make sure in your legs page you have your SIDs and stars as you would do ordinarily. For a departure, you'd put your SID in at this stage. For the arrival, you'd most likely wait till nearer to descent to actually input your star for your arrival procedure. But I wanted to show you guys the coordinate strings. So this is NatTrack Alpha in via MALOT, and then you've got the coordinates. And all you want to do, if you're going to have a random routing where you've got your own coordinate strings for your route, you could just type it in. So 53 north 020 west in Microsoft Flight Simulator at the moment, you would type it in manually if you wanted to as 5320N, and then you'd add it in, and it would then recognise 53 degrees north 020 degrees west, and so on and so forth for the other waypoints themselves, as you can see on the legs page. But it's got our routing before the crossing and after the crossing, inbound to JFK. Make sure your flight plan is filed on the VATSIM network as well. And when you connect, make sure you connect with a SELCAL code entered in the box and the correct aircraft type, depending on what you're using. And of course, make sure your call sign matches. Now, the most important page inside your FMS, depending on your aircraft, is the progress page. It gives you a sitrep, so between waypoint you're inbound to, the next one, and your destination, and it'll become more apparent in the next little section. Once you're satisfied, you've got all your pre-flight checks and everything done in the aircraft you're using, and you're happy with the route in question, then you can clear away all the catering trucks, baggage, and get the doors and everything sealed up, ready for your departure. If you're on the VATSIM network and you've got a controller at this stage, of course you're guided by them, making sure you've got your clearance obtained, and you call up saying that you're ready for push and start, and you follow the instructions given by the ATC controllers. Okay, so we're airborne now, and there's going to be one of two scenarios. We're either going to have controllers online, Shamrock or Gander, and if you've got one, they tend to cover both sections of the Atlantic as well, so do keep that in mind. Or it's just going to be Unicom. If it's Unicom, quite simply, we monitor vPilot in case a controller comes online throughout our crossing, and it's as simple as that. We don't need to worry about too much. Every now and again, if we want to, we can do a little text position report by typing in our waypoints via vPilot, just to help other pilots around us perhaps. Certainly not required. The only thing that I would probably recommend doing on Unicom would be to announce entry and exit from the NAT tracks. But what happens if we've got a controller? Now, if we are going end to end with ATC, we're going to be passed along multiple controllers along the way. If we are speaking to Shannon, knowing full well that we're about to head into Shamwick radio's airspace, or Gander, whoever it is that's running the show at that time, 45 minutes before we reach their airspace, we need to call them up. What you can also do is 30 to 40 minutes prior to entry, go onto the NAT site within Gander Oceanic, which looks like this, and you can type in your route request basically. Now there's a format to generating your entry requests, your clearance requests, and the Oceanic clearance generator via Gander Oceanic is what you want to use, and it looks like this. It asks for your call sign, the requested flight level that you want, and the Mach that you want to fly at. So that is your speed on conversion into Mach. It asks for your NAT track, but if you're on a random routing, you'd select the random routing option at that point, and you would type in all of the coordinates along your crossing. And it then asks for your entry point as well. So for us, our entry point is MALOT, and it's asking for an estimated time at MALOT as well, and then a TMI. Now the TMI is the calendar date starting on the 1st of January every year, begins with a 1. If it's the 31st of January, it'd be 31. If it's the 1st of February, it would be 32 for the TMI, and so on all the way through the year up to 365, or however many days in the year there is that particular year. So you need to find out what time you're going to cross MALOT. And for that, this is where we need an aircraft that has got a lot of detail in it to really help us. Now you can see on our legs page, MALOT is 343 nautical miles away. So it's going to take us probably an hour or so to get there, most likely. But if we go to the progress page, very soon we can work out how far it's going to take us to get towards PENIL. Now some aircraft you can literally type in the progress page the waypoint. So you could type in MALOT, you could submit it, and it'll tell you exactly how many nautical miles that you've got left to fly that waypoint that you've selected, and the estimated time of arrival at that waypoint as well, which is really good to know. So now, for the purpose of an example, our next waypoint is BAGSO, and the waypoint after that is MALOT. And you can see there that it's given us an ETA of 14:59 Zulu, 3 o'clock UTC basically, or UK time. And that time will change ever so slightly. Now the most important thing to do is to just make sure you get a stable speed. If your times are plus or minus 3 minutes for your entry into the NAT track, you have to then pass your recalculated Oceanic request to Gander Radio or Shamwick Radio, whoever it is, via that on Oceanic clearance generator tool to format your bit of text. If you're using NAT track to get it all done digitally, then you would just resubmit that again. But in this instance we would type in 1500 and then the TMI of 18, because it's currently the 18th of January at the time of recording this, and in the Oceanic clearance generator we'd hit submit or generate, and it would give us a little bit of text spiel. Now this is where my PDF document that I've created, which I told you guys to download at the beginning of the tutorial, will come in really handy, because it basically tells you all of this over a couple of pages in a really simple, easy to use format, hopefully. So you would call up Gander Radio or Shamwick Radio, and you would say something like this: Gander Radio, Osprey 165 Heavy. Wait for a response. They could be really busy, and they will say, Osprey 165 Heavy, Gander Radio, pass your message. And you would then pass your clearance request. This is if you're using ATC and not doing it via the digital format. Osprey 165 Heavy, request clearance via Track Alpha estimating MALOT at 1500, request flight level 380, Mach decimal 85. They would then read that back to us. We make sure it's correct, consider any changes that they've thrown in. So they might tell us, we've requested flight level 380, 38,000 feet, but they might tell us that we can only enter at flight level 400, for example. So we have to work with the controllers and try and work with whatever they're going to clear us to do, and hopefully whatever they give us we can do anyway. They tend not to give us something that we won't be able to achieve ourselves. So we've put our request in for clearance, and they're either going to tell us correct or stand by. Now, if for example there's going to be a change in flight level or change in Mach number, and they've told us to stand by, they will then give us our clearance back with the changes. So it will say something like Osprey 165 is cleared to JFK via MALOT, NAT Alpha. From MALOT, maintain flight level 390 or 400, Mach decimal 86. And then we would read that back to them with the TMI. So Osprey 165 is cleared to JFK via NAT Alpha, TMI 18. From MALOT, maintain flight level 400, Mach decimal 86. A full readback of the clearance is always required. And again, if our ETA to that waypoint of MALOT, our entry fix changes by more than 3 minutes either side, we need to go through and get our clearance back again so that they can recalculate where we might be on the plot as we commit to entry on the NAT track with a load of other aircraft around us. And remember, all times are in Zulu. So wherever you are in the world, every aircraft flies internationally at Zulu time, or UTC as it's also known. Now, whilst you're flying along quite happily, quite merrily across the NAT track, you might get a change for whatever reason. And if they change your routing prior to entry, or they change your flight level during the flight or anything like that, just deal with it as you would ordinarily in the VATSIM network. Keep it simple. But again, make sure you read back everything in full. If you're not sure, ask for it in text. Okay, so we're comfortably flying along now, and we've passed MALOT, and we need to do a position report. Now, if you're taking part on something major like cross the pond, they might tell us that position reports are not required, in which case you just fly along quite happily and you listen to the radio in case they tell you to climb or descend for whatever reason, or they ask you for a position report as well. It just does happen sometimes, so always be ready to give a position report if required. If it's fairly quiet on the frequency, you might want to practice a position report. Go to the Gander website again, ganderoceanic.ca, and you will go to the pilot's position report tab, and you type in all the data again as we did for the clearance. So Osprey 165 reporting at MALOT at time 1500, flight level 380, and then we need to know our next fixes. So in our progress page then, we can see we're on our way to MALOT now as an example for this tutorial, and our next waypoint is 53 degrees north, 20 degrees west, and we've got an ETA of 1516Z there. So inside the position report generator, our next fix would be our next fix would be 53 north, 020 west. Then head to your legs page, and you can see our next one is 53 degrees north, 030 west. And on the progress page, so our next waypoint after MALOT is 53 degrees north, 020 degrees west. Estimated time arrival at that waypoint, and that coordinate is 1516Z. So we type that into the position report generator, and the fix thereafter is in the legs page, 53 degrees north, 030 degrees west. So again, we type that in, and then we hit generate. So when we pass MALOT, we call up for a position report, which will sound something like this. Shamwick Radio, Osprey 165, position report. Osprey 165, Shamwick Radio, pass your message. Shamwick Radio, Osprey 165, reports passing MALOT at time 1452 Zulu, flight level 380, estimating 53 north 020 west at 1516, 56 degrees north 030 degrees west next, or thereafter. And they will then read that back to us, and if it's correct we say Shamwick Radio Osprey 165 correct, and that is it. That's our position report done. Easy peasy. So if we're going to be more than 3 minutes either side of our initial estimated time of arrival at the next fix, we need to revise our estimate with a quick message to the radio operator, and all it is going to sound like is this: Shamwick Radio, Osprey 165 revised estimate. They will reply with Osprey 165, Shamwick Radio, pass your message, and then we just say something like Shamwick Radio, Osprey 165, estimated 53 north 020 west at 1523. They will read it back to us, and if it's correct we can just say something easy like Shamwick Radio, Osprey 165 correct. Done. If it's read back incorrectly, then we make sure we repeat the same message so that they've got it correct on their side. So prior to entering the NAT track, if you've got an aircraft that can do SailCal, or in fact you just want to do a SailCal check and you remember the 4-letter SailCal code that you entered into the dialog box when you connected to VATSIM prior to your flight, you can call up Shamwick Radio, Osprey 165, request a SailCal check, and then the 4-letter code that you're using, so for example Alpha Bravo Charlie Delta, and then just basically wait. They might tell you to stand by, or stand by for SailCal check, and you'll hear a series of beeps, and you can just say received Osprey 165. Something easy, keep it basic, keep it simple, and you would do that prior to entering the NAT track itself. What happens if you're going over the Atlantic then and your next waypoint is a domestic one? Well, it's the same process for your position report, but the last waypoint off the NAT track, instead of having a waypoint name, you would just type domestic, and the controllers would then pass you on to whatever controller's next. And there it is, in a nutshell, Oceanic on the VATSIM network. Keep it simple, try not to overcomplicate it, and use the tools available to us, whether it is my free PDF document that I've created to help you guys enjoy it and make the most out of it, and there are examples of radio telephony and a whole host of other things inside that small PDF. So please do use it, hopefully you find it useful, and make sure you use all the resources on the Gander Oceanic website, their Oceanic clearance generator and their position report generator as well. If you can think of any tips or tricks that you want to share with the rest of the community, then make sure you make good use of the comment section down below. Don't forget to give the video a like and click subscribe as well. Again, I hope you found this video useful. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you join me in a live stream in the very near future. Take care.